Welcome back to the Netherkast. I'm Black Cyborg, as always, joined by Razor's Edge, temporary username, and Shadowloo. How are you guys doing? It's episode 37.
I'm doing okay. Had myself a nice little workout session. Got the endorphins flowing. Kind of horny. Ready to get my freak on.
All right.
You asked.
I'm wondering how Cyborg is. You sounded like you were about to cough up a lung there when you tried to do the intro. I think
something just jumped down my throat there. It was interesting.
Jumped down your throat.
Oh, God.
Well, he is horny right now, so
That's
true.
true.
To put the context together.
I mean, you can't really blame him.
Don't you say these things to me unless they're true. Let's make them true.
Well, we've got a pretty rant-heavy episode coming up, I'm guessing. We got a couple topics to cover, mainly, and both of them are pretty negative in a sense, to a degree. So, for those that aren't into that type of thing, well, you just stick with us here because maybe you'll enjoy it.
2 weeks? I don't.
Yeah, like I don't know what I was going with that.
Sometimes you
we're
roll the
not-
dice and it comes up snake eyes. What can I tell you?
We're not about to be nice here tonight, folks. We're angry. We're all very upset.
All right, well, not to hold it off too long here, let's jump right into it. First off, we'll cover the whole cancellation of the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions of MKX and how that whole thing was managed and taken care of and delayed and how many months has it been? How many months? Like 5 months?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Everybody who's still playing last gen, get a job, you hippies.
No,
Well, they would
seriously.
have gotten a job if we had told them in 2014.
Yeah,
They would've
right.
had time. They could have done something about it. They told them in fucking. That's
know
why
what?
I'm so pissed about it. It's August. They told him in August it wasn't coming out.
People would have bought the game if they'd known it wasn't coming. Like, they would have upgraded sooner. But, like, on a certain level, you gotta sort of see it on the wind, man. Like, those editions were never coming out. I never once believed those were a real thing. I thought they were lying from the moment it was announced.
See, I knew they were coming out. I just thought they were going to be like Game Boy Advance graphics. I didn't think they were going to be good. So I'm like, why are we even wasting our time on this? But I think it's really
can see how
gross and
people were
unfair.
fooled because, like, I don't know how the Vita version of MK9 plays, but it sort of looks similar, just, you know, downgraded.
I played it, actually. It plays well. It plays very well, actually.
Okay, well, I could see somebody thinking, well, if they were able to bring 9 to the Vita and it played good, then they could bring 10 to the PS3 and 360. But from, like, I never saw, like, why it would be a good idea to do that, because, like, even when they announced it, like, those systems were on their last legs. Like, there was still a little bit of overlap where people were playing both, but you could see, like, in 6 months' time, that generation will be definitively over and everybody will be on PS4 and Xbox. So why would you not, like, just see it coming and not bother with the announcement?
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. But if they say they're going to do it, like, I never wanted pre-gen games, ever. I said, let's move on. Let's get the momentum going on the next generation. But if you're going to do it, I mean, I don't even mind the delays. I technically don't even mind the cancellation. Why cancel it in August after they've been waiting 5
Because
months after
it's
the game?
bad fucking communication. They always do
Yes.
this. They always do this.
Well, now, here's what I think actually happened. Like, I believe they did have this other party working on the port. I think the reason they didn't cancel it in August was because it took them that long to realize it's unsalvageable. The
It was,
work that was being turned in was just not good enough to release.
It was High Voltage Studios who were responsible, I believe, for the last gen and PC versions. And if I'm not mistaken, High Voltage has actually had a bit of a controversial history as purveyors of shit. Or was that someone
Yeah,
else?
there were a lot of people who, when it was announced it was High Voltage, wrote it off right then.
And that's why the whole, like, it wasn't up to par is, like, problem number 2. Why were they handing the property off to someone this irresponsible in the first place? Like, that fucking this has really nothing to do with NetherRealm. This is all Warner Brothers. I don't fucking understand it.
Well, here's a question. Why did Warner Brothers give it to High Voltage when they have, like, WB Montreal, whose whole thing is, like, taking other people's engines and rushing something out with it, like Arkham Origins?
Well, I think, wasn't Arkham Origins Iron Galaxy? Wait, no, I'm thinking City. Arkham Knight. No, I'm thinking of Knight. I'm
What are
very
you
much thinking of
talking
Arkham Knight.
about?
Origins was definitely
I'm not sure. Yeah, I was definitely Montreal, and Iron Galaxy botched Arkham Knight anyway on PC, so...
It's the other things that High Voltage are responsible for. Saints Row 4 Next Gen and Get Out of Hell, which are apparently shitty on PS4. 30 frame drops and shite. Let's see. Zone of the Enders 2 on PS3. Apparently also terrible. Jesus. Conduit Games. Wow. They have a really, really terrible track record.
But yeah,
I just feel bad.
I agree that they should have just not even tried to put it on 360 and PS3. Just let it go. Arkham Knight wasn't placed on PS3 or 360. You can make that jump to just say, hey guys, we're gonna have it on just the new console. We want to make sure it's, you know, it's along the lines of other modern games. We want to push the limits here, and we can't do that if we're, you know, trying to port it to 360 and PS3. We don't want to hold back, so that's just the way it's going to be. That's far better than what we ended up with.
NRS did not hold themselves back at all, because
Right.
they weren't the ones working on those ports, so they didn't have to worry about it. It wasn't their problem.
Exactly, and that's a good thing. It just sucks that they
it's
took
a shame that WB tried anyway.
Yeah, just that's disappointing, and yeah, I feel bad for anybody that waited. I mean, that sucks. I don't know what else to say. That's once again, that's poor communication on their part. Be it NetherRealm Studios, WB, a combination of the two, or just whatever the case. It just seems like in general when they handle this game, they're just awful at communicating to fans. For whatever reason,
like I said, I don't blame the
multiple things.
communication so much, because as soon as they realized it was never going to happen, they announced the cancellation, I think. It's just, it was bad behind-the-scenes decisions. And it comes across as bad communication to us because communication is all we get.
And not very much. Of it.
We don't see how the hot dogs are made, so to speak.
But we still, for some reason, want to know what they're constructed of. For some reason.
And that should have been kind of a red flag from the very beginning. We never, ever got pre-gen footage. It was February, and we had not seen a single screenshot of pre-gen.
That is true. That was definitely something that was on my mind whenever somebody said, "Oh, they're still coming, guys. They're still coming." I was just like, they have released nothing. You are not getting those games.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to get canceled too for a long time until April, when they still had not announced an official cancellation. I was thinking, well, maybe they're just working behind the scenes. I didn't know what to think anymore once April hit. I'm like, okay, well, because I don't even think they announced a delay until way after the fact.
They did not. No. I think it was about maybe 2-3 weeks out of release date that they said it's going to take a little while longer. It was beforehand, I believe.
Yeah, see, and you can tell at that point they still had hope that they could clean it up. It wasn't until August that they finally realized that this is never going to work. Let's just stop.
You'd be amazed at the kind of grueling, blinding, dumbass optimism that pervades the video game world. We can still ship this out in a week, despite the fact that it doesn't even boot properly, right? Say the project closers, and it's never, ever, ever that simple.
I say we
Where's the rare
fucking kill
project
them.
that
I
doesn't
say
work?
we murder every... No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm listening. Go on, you have my ear. Murder, suicide, murder, suicide.
Jesus.
I'm down.
Really?
Throw salt in my eyes.
Is it going to be me and Tim hosting the show next week? By ourselves?
That sounds hard. That sounds difficult. I'm
You
not
guys
good
have
with
some sort of chemistry
keyboards.
together. It could work.
It could work, but I'm not smart. I can't edit things
Razor's learning.
yet. I'm learning.
I can do it. I'd rather not.
That's how I feel.
We're
but
learning actually.
I'm kind of
We
stuck
actually
with it.
I'm just gonna change the theme music to "How could this happen to me?"
Oh god.
It's better that if it's in my hands, folks. You're getting yakety sax. I hope you like yakety sax. Because when I have my own goddamn save, there's gonna be a whole lot of fucking yakety sax. I'm gonna tell you what.
All right. Well, anything else to say about the unfortunate why do I keep saying cancelization? Isn't it just
Yeah, right?
cancellation?
I was trying not to say
Dear
anything
God.
about it.
What is with that word? Can
It's
we
a
just
hard word.
can both just be
Cancel-
real?
4 syllables.
Cancellology.
Cancellation.
Cancelization. It sounds like it's appropriate.
How about cancellology? A hilarious cancellation, which you knew
Cancellology.
was always going to happen. And it was hilarious when it did. Except for those.
You gotta measure your
That's
thetan levels to join Cancelology.
All right. Well, either way, it sucks that it happened that way, and I feel bad for anybody that's still stuck on last gen. Hopefully, you
And, you
can
know,
find the money to jump to
That's the
current
thing.
gen.
People are always like, well, it's your fault for not jumping ahead. Some people don't have that kind of fucking money, and I understand that. I was a poor son of a bitch kid when I grew up. I didn't have money for an NES till like Mega Man 4 or 5 came out. Seriously.
It's true, but I'm not one to be like, oh, just do this, do that. But
You do have to recognize the warning signs.
the current gen consoles, an Xbox One, for instance, on Amazon is $350, and you can get a $50. It comes with a $50 Amazon credit. So there you're getting the console and MKX pretty much with that $350, which that's still a lot of money. But or take GameStop for example, you can trade in shit and get yourself about halfway there, and then find a way. I don't know. Either way, it sucks. I'm
A
not.
lot of shit though. Like you're giving them a $60 game and you're getting $25.
Right. I don't know. I traded in like 10 games that I knew I was never going to play again and got like 140, so it's not like the amazing deal, but either way, if you're not going to play certain games again, it's still better than nothing. Regardless, I'm not here to defend GameStop because I don't like GameStop,
Oh,
but
God.
yeah, no.
I understand,
to,
like, if you
recognize
need
when
the
it's-
money, trading in is not a bad idea. It's just personally not something I ever do because it's not really worth it.
Yeah, I usually don't either,
And I
but
like to hang on to my library because I replay my games.
yeah,
I
I like to hang on
to
to
what I'll buy.
I like to
I
hang
don't
on
buy
to my
shit,
library,
just
but I
play
don't.
it once and then never again.
Yeah, I don't usually play a lot of the games again, so I usually just have them sitting around, which I keep them, but I should have gotten rid of them because I have so many games that aren't worth shit now that I'll probably never touch again. But anyways, regardless, let's move on to the Combat Pack 2 reactions of...
And just remember for the future, folks, there's a reason people roll their eyes when cross-gen is announced, or it's confirmed to be a thing with the title of your choice.
It's just,
There's no reason.
there was so many signs in this case that, like I said, I
Yeah,
know
they're-
Django was saying for months beforehand, saying that there's no way those are going to get released. They didn't release anything. That should have been sign number one. And then you could understand, well, maybe they didn't want to show anything while the current gen versions were still being made, so that way they didn't like get people confused on which was which. But after the current gen came
people
out,
to see a bad looking screenshot and not know which gen it's from.
right? But after the game came out, you would think we would have gotten more stuff, but we didn't get anything. So that should have been the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, it's just there were so many red flags. Like under normal circumstances, if a company announces something's going to be cross-gen, usually pretty reliable that it'll actually happen. But this one, it was so shady.
All right, well, Combat Pack 2, Alien, what are we thinking? What do we got here? What do you think about the
Let's say
tease
Alien.
of the tease of the tease of the tease of the tease?
It's not Alien.
I'm gonna get this
No,
off
I
my
know.
chest right
Michael
now.
It's
Myers.
probably a female of some sort. Michael Myers.
The day and the age has long since passed when Ed and the company can just freely troll people. It's getting old. It really
You know
is.
what I
And-
think happened?
hang on.
Okay.
I am not Mr. Responsible. I don't really believe in professionalism as a concept. I kind of believe in being who you are and being forthright and upfront and honest. I'm not above a little joke. But it ain't 1995 anymore, and this is not Rain Can Be Found in the Graveyard, sending you on a little bit of a wild goose chase. This is piss poor communication, intentionally, knowingly raising people's expectations up for some sort of actual announcement, and being rewarded with a press release. That's not funny. That's fucking with people. There's a difference between having a bit of a joke and actively screwing with people. This is just not cool. It's not acceptable.
I want to give Ed the benefit of the doubt in this instance for some stupid reason. So here's what I think may have happened. I think Ed put out the silhouette picture all on his own, just like I'm the boss of my company, I can do what I want. And then somebody from WB marketing went, wait, no, you can't. And so we were gonna get like a reveal of at least one of the silhouettes, and instead we got the press release as damage control because Ed jumped the gun.
That's very plausible, actually. Being in the video game sector myself, I should probably take that to heart. I've seen marketing dip their fingers in about everything. People are insane with power. I hope that is what happened.
I don't give him a pass on that. Because
it's
I
definitely not something that that doesn't like buy Ed forgiveness if that's a true story, because he still he should have known better. But the thing is, here's the problem with Mortal Kombat marketing, and we've seen this with MK9, and we saw this for the past however many months we've been doing the show, like 9 months, right?
Amazingly.
And it's probably WB because things didn't work this way when Midway was still around.
I've been doing it for 11 months, actually.
Really?
It's like October 20-something that we started.
Wow. Well, anyway, we have seen in real time the way WB markets Mortal Kombat, and it's announce one thing way too far away from the release date so that everybody is unreasonably hyped, and then say nothing for months and months and months so that the hype just dies. And then get to like a month before release date and go, oh shit, we're behind, and release everything.
And release it without trailers. Release it through
the point is they have no concept of pacing things out. Like if you've got, I have said this 1,000 times, if you have 24 characters and your game comes out in 12 months, that's a trailer every 2 weeks. Just do that. Do it slow and with the same amount, like an even amount of space in between each one. But they don't.
Yeah, it just...
They do nothing, and then they do everything right close to the date.
There's a tweet from a developer, and I'm not going to call them out, that got deleted, but they were like, why is everyone so pissed? And I'm like, how do you not know? How do you not know why we're not pissed? Praetor said it best. He said they released a photo of 4 silhouettes and then the caption, tomorrow. What are we supposed to take from that? I mean, what the fuck?
And here's another thing I love. Yeah? So, like, yesterday or the day before, Ed tweets a picture of a dragon logo-shaped clock. And the caption he put up with this picture was, time for more combatants? And it meant nothing. Like, it wasn't even his clock. Like, a fan sent him a picture of that clock, and he just wanted to go to the community, hey, check out how cool this clock is. But why would you use that caption? You fucking dick.
It just... thank God Cyborg edited out the extra, 40 minutes of me ranting after the reaction video, because it got very mean-spirited. I'm so glad that's not going to see the light of day. But, I was in shock. Like, when Cyborg showed me the press release, I didn't even know what to say. I just couldn't believe it.
I wasn't surprised. That's the saddest part, is I think the fact that I was not caught by surprise at all. I actually expected nothing.
I don't know how not to get surprised. It has nothing to do with faith or confidence in NetherRealm Studios. It's just common sense. They're not... it's so counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's just...
To say we're going to release something and then release nothing.
Then if you tell me we're going to announce something tomorrow, I go, no, you're not. Don't lie to my face.
Give me a specific time. Announce a time. You tell me new character at 4 o'clock. I'll be there.
Yeah.
You give me vague statements, I'm going to tell you to shove it right up your ass.
Yeah, you'll be there at 4 o'clock to nothing. Fool me once.
Even when they did do that, they fucked it up. Because the
twice,
MK versus
Red Bull.
DC reveal had a fucking countdown. And nothing happened. The countdown ended, and we got nothing. We got a blurry picture of Scorpion.
It was like a blank page for a day, and then like in 12 hours they realized, oh shit, and put up a new countdown.
Another countdown.
It was a
That's
countdown.
how you knew no
to
one
a
really
countdown.
cared about that project.
Oh man.
What got me personally was the whole week was completely fucked up, and it started with the stream that they did, where they knew everybody was anticipating something announced, something revealed, something shown, give some sort of teaser of some sort of like substance, and that's all the chat was about. That's what all the forum posts were about leading into it. And yes, people were looking forward to the patch notes and stuff like that, but all the hype was behind, for a lot of people, more characters announced, or a Combat Pack 2 announced. And what did they do? Instead of at the front, or at the first part of the podcast, or whatever, the stream, instead of spearheading it right away, getting out of the way, they like to toy with it. They waited.
Well,
they waited.
Like 10K viewers would have like dropped out
Well,
of
that's
the
my
stream
point.
the moment you said, "By the way, we're not talking about the combat."
Exactly.
Pack.
That's my point. That's bullshit that they do that, though. That they know they manipulate on purpose, and they try and be cute about it. And that's what pisses me off. Is 44 minutes in, or whatever it was somewhere around there, an hour and 4 minutes. They then Tyler Lansdowne or whatever said, "We know you're excited about something, but we don't have anything like that for you now." And like, how shameful and stupid do you sound when you say that statement out of your mouth? Is we know you're all excited about a particular something, but we don't have anything we don't have any exciting news for you right now. It's
Thanks
like,
for tuning
yeah,
in.
Exactly. Then they go, but later this week you will all be happy with what you blah blah blah, whatever the hell he said, and then so we don't know what day. So it's just teased at some time. Like, how do they not know?
Like, stay tuned to social media because something will be announced about that.
Yeah, it's
later.
like, why can't you give us an actual time, an actual day?
Yeah.
Are you this mismanaged? Are you that bad at managing your crap? You should just say, hey, on Wednesday there will be an announcement. Okay, that way we know, Wednesday. But no, there was none of that. So then it comes Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever the hell it was, and then Ed Boon says, then he teases it again, puts up a picture with the silhouettes, and then the following day, what do we get? We get the announcement that we all knew we were going to get with the same teaser image picture that we just saw the day before. And whether Ed jumped the gun or whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact is, even if Ed did do that to be like, hey guys, we did this, then Ed screwed the pooch more than WB did, because if Ed didn't post that picture, and then on Wednesday, whatever day rolled around and we got that picture, that's at least an announcement. But we got like the substance of the announcement we got the day before.
Nothing on Twitter, and like if there'd been no silhouette picture, and then that Thursday came where they just gave the silhouettes and the release date, people would be excited instead of mad.
Well, look at it this way: at least we didn't get a clock.
Regardless, it's ridiculous. We got teased going into the combat cast, or whatever the fuck that thing is called, and then we got teased 44 minutes in for a later time during the week. Then we got teased by Ed Boon for the next day. Then on that next day, we got teased for December or January of the next year.
Not even that, like first half of 2016. That could be fucking April.
Yeah, it's just that's just ridiculous to me. Why not communicate better?
Before Street Fighter V drops, and no one gives a shit anymore. Folks.
It's just communication. It's simple communication to any good relationship, whether it be a spouse, a friend, a boss, whatever, fans, followers. Communication. Communication is key. Transparency is key. You can have your little secrets. You can keep things close to the chest at some point, but communication is key. There is nothing wrong with developers sharing things. We are not going to, if you tell us who one of the characters is, we're gonna speculate on what they might look like, what they might have move-wise, what their fatality might be, or whatever. There's still going to be speculation if we know a name. Give us a name. Or if you give us a teaser image, give us some concept art. There's still going to be speculation. So if you like the speculation, sure we won't.
I mean,
it's just, they just love
I don't even have anything against being teased in particular, but there's a way to do it. Shooting up a bunch of pictures of someone's boots? Fine, I'll play your game. I'll make a couple of guesses. I'll have a jolly old time. But don't specify a time and date or give the illusion that you're specifying a time for something big to happen and... no.
I don't think it's not like there's deliberate malice when they do these things. They just...
Well, then they're the most ignorant people.
I'm sure about that because I'm just picturing Ed swimming through money out of Scrooge McDuck.
If there's no malice, then they're very ignorant.
No, I think they just, it's ignorance. They just do these things off the top of their head, and they don't, it's like the same way they write the story. They don't plan what's going to happen in the next one when they write this one. They just they write themselves into a corner, and then in 2 or 4 years, they have to write themselves back out of that corner and into the next one.
That's
off the top of
pathetic.
their heads.
That's pathetic because they're not just this little independent 5-person game development company in Chicago anymore. They're a AAA title that WB paid tons of money and they're putting a big budget into. And yes, WB, I'm sure, plays a part of this, of why, whatever ratio. I don't care about the ratio or who's to blame. My point is, there's no excuse to not have foresight on what they're doing at this point. They have the money, they have the resources to get better writers, to get better marketers, to get the right people behind all of this, and to make the right decisions. They have the time and the money.
More time or money or different talent. All it requires is you to set some time out of your day to think ahead a little bit.
Think about your audience. You're not even dealing with the same people that you were dealing with back in 1995. This is not like spreading rumors among like people who will pass it from word to mouth to arcade. No. You're dealing on social media with hundreds of thousands of people, many of whom are representatives of what people like to call the entitled me generation, who expect efficiency, who expect results, who expect X or Y right fucking now. And that's not
because
making
other
the judgment call.
Are giving it to them.
But just that's what they come to expect. So if shit like this goes down, there is no reason that you should not be surprised. You should be surprised when there's a backlash. You know?
That's why I said it can't be pure ignorance on their part. We've gone around in this little circle every single game development, and it's gotten worse and worse, so they clearly know what's going on. And yes, maybe Ed and whoever else on NRS don't have any control, and it's a WB thing, or whatever the case. It doesn't matter. It's just...
The weird thing is, like, it only happens with the MK games. They didn't have these problems with Injustice at all. That's what strikes me as so odd.
I don't know.
MK is supposed to be the game that's like their baby. It's their intellectual property it is to be in charge of. Whereas with Injustice, you're working with the DC Comics characters, so you have to answer to the oversight of the people who are in charge of how DC characters should be portrayed and all that sort of stuff.
Well, Injustice wasn't perfect either. A lot of the reveals were in magazines. And they were
that's
very
true, but at least they were spaced out in like a reasonable time frame.
Yeah, but there was a lull. They did the same kind of bullshit though. Like
there was a lull, but
one good example: Martian Manhunter. I know that was a big uproar in the forum community and all that. My point is, why couldn't they have just said, Martian Manhunter's not making the initial roster, he might make DLC? Why couldn't they have said that months out, weeks out? They didn't. They never did that. And they didn't do it with MK either. With Fujin, they like to play their little roster games. That's why it's hard for me to believe that WB has their thumb on everything and they're the reason for everything, is because it's hard for me to believe that they would control something like that they're like, nope, out of the 60 roster or 60 potential roster people that could be on the roster, you can't tell people who's not in. You can't let people down. You can't tell people, hey, this person's not in the initial roster, but now's the time to start, getting your voice heard for DLC. They don't do that. And that's just weird for me to think WB would be so manipulative on that.
As far as like people's voices being heard for DLC, I actually think that they actively don't want suggestions. I think they want to pick the characters they want to use, and they actually like are begrudging when they have to accept everybody wants Rain, so now we have to make Rain. Everybody wants Martian Manhunter, so now we have to make Martian Manhunter.
That seems like a foregone
they
conclusion.
they would rather have the choice of which characters are DLC as opposed to listening to the fans.
Well, just
which
Jax,
is not the way it should be, but
it's the Jax argument. People, well, they seem to think that Jax is a classic character that everyone loves, whereas we're like, we can take the guy or leave him, you know? But they have those specific characters that they're always going to want to bring back, and they do have their own agenda, but I do think that they listen to an extent.
And that's fine. They don't need... I'm not saying let's do a poll before every game and everybody that's in the top 25 makes it and nobody else below it ever makes it, because that would just be stupid. Then you're losing a lot of characters and only the most popular will ever get a chance. That's not good either. There's... Any extreme is not good. You got to have a little bit from each side. That's okay. But my point is with saying which characters aren't going to make the roster, it's okay to deconfirm characters on a consistent basis and be legitimate. Don't be like, Mocap's not going to be in this game. And they build it up and then they just make a big joke about it. They did that several times with Shiva and
they do deconfirm characters who are like seem obvious or are especially unpopular. Where, like, if someone asks if Natara's going to be in the game, Ed has no problem saying no. But if you ask about Cyrax, he has to give some confusing comment like he missed his bus. Like,
okay, but why...
When you say he's going to be late, that implies that he will be in the game after release. Like, you can't use the word late as opposed to not at all. That's not fair.
Either way, what does it hurt to say this character's not in the game? Okay, people are going to be upset. That just means they're going to be like, okay, please put him in as DLC. Please put him as... And if they don't, that's okay too. But just don't string people along. Don't put the carrot there. There's nothing wrong with deconfirming... So if you see a public outcry that's ridiculous, like for a Fujin or Smoke or Cyrax or whatever the character is, if you see enough fans, or Rain, if you see enough fans crying out for a character and they know he's not going to make the roster, the initial roster at least, just simply say, and they don't have to do it right away, but at least 2 or 3 months out from the game, they could be like, sorry guys, he's not going to make it this time. We didn't have enough time, or he just didn't quite fit what we were planning for, but possibly as DLC. There's nothing wrong with that. At least you're putting some people's... You're mitigating, you're making sure people's hopes and craziness don't get too far out of whack for too long, because that just... It gets tiring for people. It's just something so simple that they could be transparent about. There's no reason why the roster... It's okay to make it like a fun speculation game, but it doesn't have to be this big secret thing. People are going to buy the game regardless if they know the roster a month in advance or 2 months in advance. People buy it because they want the story. People buy it because they want the gameplay or the competitive side or whatever the case. They don't buy it just because every perfect person was on the roster. I don't know. It's just such a simple thing that they could change. But they take such enjoyment out of, it's the na boo boo, we know who's in the game, and we don't want to tell you, we're just going to make a little puzzle about it and give you cryptic messages that don't amount to anything.
It was especially sinister with Fujin, because even when the game was out, there was still speculation of a 26 character. So when people are playing the game, and they've already given their money, in my case, given the money twice to NetherRealm Studios, I'm still looking for Fujin. And... Well, by the time you could have a backlash, but why? What's the point?
To be fair, I think there was a pretty solid point before the game came out where the people believing there might be a secret character besides Shinnok were just kind of, I don't want to say lying to themselves, but like the developers were very clear that box is random select.
Well, I wasn't in that camp, to be fair, because I would say about a week before the game came out, we knew the roster from the Greek streams anyway, so...
Yeah, but
I knew there was nothing
I'm certain either Ed or Lansdowne or both were definitely, like... they were being asked, is there going to be more secret characters, specifically because of the question mark box, and they said, no, that box is random select. and that's the way it is.
I don't know.
The same
I
reason.
think sometimes people like either don't see those tweets, so they don't know, or they just they're so optimistic that they sort of blind themselves to the truth because they'd rather the pretty lie.
Well,
isn't that a symptom of bad marketing though? That you have to watch the Twitter, you have to watch the Facebook
that's
feed.
my problem with Ed and the way Neither Realm communicates. Is I think Twitter is the worst form of human communication in history. 140 characters does not give you enough space to treat human beings like people when you speak to them.
Thank you.
Well,
I think there should not be a Twitter, and if you're going to talk to your fan base, just get a blog or a Facebook or something. Don't use
Which we
Twitter.
had for a
That makes
long
you an
time,
evil
but
person.
Sticking with the roster,
I have moral objections
damn
with
it.
Twitter as a format.
with the roster before we move on.
Folks, you
I don't
can
wanna
tell
forget.
Razor how
Son
you
of a
really feel
bitch.
by tweeting to us at.
Were you trying to say something, Cyborg? I couldn't catch that.
No.
Are you
I just
sure?
want
Are you sure you're gonna let me talk? Are you sure?
to.
I was gonna say on the roster thing, on the roster subject. That's another part of that they like to play their games. Is why not just give us a roster number? And I understand that the development process could lead to more characters down the road or less characters down the road, depending on time. But then set the bar low. There's nothing wrong with setting the bar low and building upon that. Say, we're at least going to get 24 characters in there. We can promise you that. But if we have the time, we will add more. There's nothing wrong with saying that, but they don't say that shit.
Probably the inverse, really, because
Well, no. Here's the problem. They do kind of say that.
They have
And
a
it's just
long
when
history.
people hear that, when people hear, oh, we might get more than 24, they make
go
themselves
32.
expect more than 24, and then they're disappointed when they only get 24.
It's saying you might get more than 24, but 24 is all we can promise is a lot better than them saying, oh, it's going to be close to MK9 and not being anywhere close to MK9. Because that's what they said. That's what they said.
It's a dangerous thing for them to try to promise anything anyway, because they have a very long history of not being able to put shit that they want in the game. So while, like, 3 months out from beta, they may have actually planned for 30 characters, maybe they find that because of budgetary constraints or timing or staff or whatever have you, they can only ever actually do 25 or up to 27. And that'd be the worst thing in the world to actually promise something like 30 people and being able to deliver under that. So I get why they don't give us a specific number.
I think even if they can't promise, they should be able to meet industry standards at this point. When it comes to roster, when it comes to online netcode.
Yeah, but it's fairly obvious. Like, if you just look at Tanya, she was supposed to be on the main roster, and they didn't have her done in time, and that's why she's DLC. So it does happen.
More
I'd
often than
probably
not,
say the same
people
about
don't
Scarlet and 9.
Truth.
It's possible.
So much
I
of
think.
her code was already on disk.
Right.
It just wasn't finished.
And that's fine. Like I said, set the bar low. There's nothing wrong with setting the bar low, expectations low, and then delivering possibly more. But they like to leave that ambiguous answer so that way, like I said, oh, it'll be right about MK9, which was 28, if I'm not mistaken, 29, I think, if you count Kratos. So it's like, yeah. No, you underperformed MK9 by 3 or 4, so it wasn't close to MK9.
Well,
I don't consider that close.
On the MK9 select screen, that would have been a whole row.
Because at the end of the day, even though if we're getting 2 combat packs, we're going to end up about the same amount as MK9 had, character-wise. So, no, that doesn't satisfy me, so to speak. And you could have set that expectation a little bit lower. And they did the same thing with Injustice. They'd always say around 28 characters, 30 characters, and blah, blah, blah. And then they end up going 24. And that's, there's nothing wrong with saying 24 characters, 23, say 22 characters. I don't give a shit. Just give me a lowball answer so that way you surprise me rather than disappoint me. And I'm somebody that can keep my expectations in check to a degree. There's people that go way crazier than I ever do in terms of expectations and hopes and hanging on every little hint and every little word that they say and construing it however they want. But my point is, there's nothing. It's same with saying Fujin is not in the game. Fujin is not in the game, and then if he ends up in the game, who's gonna be pissed at that? You lied to us, and you put the character we wanted in the game, even though you said he wasn't. It's a lot better than them not saying anything and then him not being in when people were like, "Man, I really thought he was gonna be in the game."
Historically, this has happened. Actually, this happened on. Well, with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, they first of all said they lowballed us. They said 25 to 30 characters. And we ended up getting roughly about 35. That was awesome. Then they said, for certain larger characters, we had to keep a limit, so Sentinel can't be in the game. Then Sentinel shows up, and believe it or not, people are pissed. No one wanted Sentinel back except for the hardcore MVC2 people. So, in a weird way, that backfired. It's like they deconfirmed someone and they showed up, and I was one of them, actually. I was like, why the fuck is Sentinel coming back? I'm actually really happy he's in the game now. I'm Legacy. But anyway, so this has occurred with mixed results. But in Mortal Kombat's case, it would be perfect. Because it's a very different kind of expectations, but...
Yeah, well, there's one thing it's a difference between saying something's not in the game that's actually bad, and then it ends up being in the game. Like, hey, our internet's not going to be bad, and then it ends up being bad. That's a bad lie. But saying you're not going to get 5 more... You're only going to get 24 characters, and then you get 4 more characters, nobody's going to be like, what? You lied!
How dare you deceive me and give me more of what I wanted?
Of gamers.
I'm fairly certain some people out there will be exactly like that. I've heard people like that.
Well, yeah.
The Sentinel situation was especially funny because, first of all, if you're only into the lore, you probably didn't want Sentinel. But second of all, people didn't know how to deal. When the game first came out, people were struggling. And this character's not even like mid-tier anymore, so...
I don't want to be that guy because so many people are that guy when it comes to Mortal Kombat and fighting games in general, but... There was lore in MVC?
Well,
the only thing I remember is
them
implying that
one of more interesting characters.
Akuma was Dan's dad, or fucking what the hell else was there? Shumagarath really enjoyed Curry in one of the endings.
Really, you can sum up the lore of Marvel vs. Capcom as Strider Hiru landed on a whale, and you're pretty much done. But the important thing to remember is that in Mortal Kombat's case, Cyborg's 110% right. This is not like Sentinel versus Sentinel, a fate of 2 Sentinels. This is different. This is, in this case,
the answer was very good. Punch, by the way.
Oh man, just playing that character day one was not fun. Yeah.
At the end of the day, it would just make them look so much better too. Because if they said, "Oh, we're only going to have," and it's just hypothesis, we're only going to have 22 characters. Sorry guys, we're just going to have 22 characters, and then 3 weeks before the game comes out, they're like, haha, secret. Then they reveal like 4 more characters or 5 more characters like 3 weeks out, and they're like, oh, just kidding. We actually, we because then they can just sit there and play the card of, well, we pushed ourselves harder, and we put in extra hours, and we got those 5 more characters in for you guys. Then they just make themselves look so much better. It's okay to...
You can pull the listening card.
Yeah, you can do all sorts of things.
That requires forethought. You have to plan that out.
See, but
that's not how they roll. They just do things off the top of their heads in the moment.
I feel like they make...
Ed Boon's design philosophy is YOLO.
Mortal Kombat is way too popular, and it sells way too damn well, and they're owned by way too good, too rich of a company to not have the force. Like, that's my point, is with story mode and shit like that, it's too, they've come too far and they've evolved too much to sit there and get by on laziness and lack of foresight. That's bullshit.
I just want to put forth the notion, Rachel, that you've put the phrase YOLO into my head. Now I'm imagining a combat code that actually makes the announcer say that when you uppercut someone. You bastard.
You're welcome, I guess.
YOLO.
I would like that, actually. I miss the whole "you suck" and stuff like that.
I just noticed that Toasty wasn't in MKX.
Was it really nowhere? Absolutely nowhere.
YOLO is going to be, like, grown-worthy next year. Like, modern slang doesn't last nearly long enough to, like, not look stupid when you put it in your thing.
But that's the idea. If you want to look stupid, which is kind of what a lot of the stuff in MK is supposed to look stupid, like, that's why I want friendships back, because they were stupid. And
friendships are great.
That's true.
One other thing I wanted to say, speaking of story mode, and that was briefly mentioned, but I mentioned this on a stream. Man, An idea I had for a story mode instead to make it like way better in my opinion and get rid of the chapter system that they got where you have to play 3 fights with each character. Just fucking give us a 2.5 hour cinematic movie to watch. That's what I'd prefer.
I actually really like that. Street Fighter does that. They just make animes and they shove them out there.
Because they just use story mode as like a tutorial system to play each character basically and get 3 fights in for practice. So why not just give us a 2.5 hour actual cinematic, and you can do it. You can render it in game if you want. I don't give a shit, even though it looks worse compared to an actual cinematic. But I understand there's a huge difference between cost and time and stuff. But I mean, it's not like WB's hurting for money or anything. But regardless. Just give us a 2.5 hour cinematic so we can see the story told however they want without having to follow the same character for 3 fights in a row. That's just that really dumbs down the story, and it really makes them shoehorn things in, and it just feels so unnecessary. Give us a 2.5 hour cinematic and then leave all the fight. Give us a tutorial system in a separate mode, and give us everything else that you would normally give us, and I feel like everyone would be all the happier, in my opinion.
Well, I want to say something about that real quick. Mortal Kombat, as far as ahead as it is in terms of story, it is so far behind in other elements. Where are the combo trials in Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat X? I agree with you. Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone by cutting the bird in half. And have combo trials for people who want to learn the game. And then if you want to enjoy the story mode, you're not just doing down jab and jump kick for 3 hours. I don't care how good you are at Mortal Kombat. That's not fun. Going through move lists for 3 fucking hours is horrible. It's not a good experience. Especially when story mode is not...
my biggest complaint. Like, my favorite story mode is Deadly Alliance, because you can pick your character, and you get 10 segments of text just about that fucking character, and, like, their past, present, and catch up to their, bio and ending.
Sadly,
but it was a practice mode. So while you're reading this text, you're also like, duck 5 times, or do this style branch combo. And I'm like,
yeah, that's
I don't care about this.
Well, how did Deadly Alliance have combo trials, but fucking Mortal Kombat X does not? I'm sorry, go on, Cyborg.
No, it's just
a valid question.
I was just going to say, I mean, you're exactly right, and I think we all agree that if you cut it in half and make them 2 separate things, right now they're just trying to take 2 half parts and make a whole that's not as greater as if they would just cut it in half, make 2 things shine on their own, make a great combo tutorial system, and then make a great story cutscene. Just give us a cinematic movie, 2.5 hours long. They already have like 2 hours worth of cinematics as it is, so just add an extra half hour and don't worry about which character needs to be fought at this time and blah blah blah. And like all the bad guys always have to lose the fights because you're usually playing as the good character. No, all that shit should be gone. It should just be tell the story you want to tell, have whoever win the fight that should win the fight, and focus on whoever you want. Jump back and forth between characters instead of sticking with a character for 15 minutes and then jumping to a next person. Like, you can tell a way better story if you just made it its own movie or whatever and have it included in the game. That would be way cooler.
Well, what I would suggest is...
I would take the way that Guilty Gear and BlazBlue used to do things. I don't know if they did the last place, which Lost I had, but I really enjoyed the fact that each character had their own kind of little dedicated story mode where, depending on the actions you take during battles, your story would branch and you'd meet or fight different people. And for such a plot-oriented series like MK, it'd be the perfect fucking thing. But no, IGN's Joe Chucklefuck and the rest of the Chucklefucks who follow him on Twitter are still amazed at the fact that, oh my god, a fighting game can have a good story. Look at this. And, we moved beyond that so long ago. And people are still raving about it. It's amazing.
Yeah, but, I don't know. Those are casuals, and they don't pay attention anyway. That's why they...
But they're who matter. They're the teeming fucking masses. They're the ones who are eating this shit up, and they're the ones who are going to get listened to.
It is, because they do have an influence, and then, like, people think MK9 is a masterpiece just because it had good presentation values, and that's rare in this genre. When
I know that hurts you as much as it does me.
Script, it's the worst written one.
I do want to kind of, just to close out the teaser of the teaser point we were talking about earlier, a lot of people are calling people like me spoiled, ungrateful. And all I'm going to say to that is, of course they're going to attack me because you can't defend the marketing. No one can defend this marketing. So obviously they're going to try to shit on, people who are fucking complaining.
Let's
And I
look.
don't even mind the 2016 thing. I'm fine with that, but that's what annoys me is it's a schizophrenic fan base of they're just a business, they don't owe you anything. And then when you start talking shit, they're like, how dare you after all they've done for you? How can you betray them like this? They go from business to family in the course of a nanosecond. I know I'm a broken record. I know I've said this before, but this fan base drives me nuts sometimes.
No, you're absolutely right. It's just, the thing is, like, if this were like Mass Effect should change the ending of the game because we don't like it, you can use the word entitled for that. I mean, those fans are kind of right just because Mass Effect 3's ending was really bad. But this is not that situation. It's not entitled to point at Twitter and go, he posted silhouettes and the word tomorrow. What did you expect? Because I expected them to reveal what the silhouettes are, so why wouldn't I be mad it's not that? That's just
no one
common
wants to be
sense.
lied to. No one wants to be misled.
Exactly. There's a difference between entitlement and, the obvious.
You know what?
Trust me, kids. We know what's entitled. It's you, not us.
You know what I think of when I think, I don't know, this randomly popped in my head, but only people that follow Pokemon will have any idea, and I don't think any of the three of you really did, but the Pokemon animated show, before they went to commercial, they would do this little game where it's like, and obviously it's directed towards kids because it was always so easy, but it's, who's that Pokemon? And it had just a silhouette of a Pokemon. How funny would it be? It's the equivalent of coming back to commercial, and it's like, here's that Pokemon, and it's just a silhouette.
Yeah,
It's
like
like,
we don't
what
know
the
what the Pokemon is. You're still. It's like, who was that Pokemon? You're leaving me in the dark.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't
Like,
be hanging, bro.
tomorrow, question mark? Tomorrow? With all the silhouettes? And then you're just
Maybe
given the
next
silhouettes
episode will
again.
tell you who that Pokemon was.
Yes, Ed Boon. Good job. Yes, we did get the silhouettes tomorrow. We did. You
But
were
the good
right.
news is that we found out years later that silhouette ended up being John Cena, so now the question's been answered. So. We all know.
John Cena, I choose you.
Well, you would have known that if you'd watched Super Slam.
I love that video.
Dun, 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 dun.
Anything we wanted to cover really quickly? We got about 8
Well,
minutes.
I gotta jet pretty soon. I got like 5 people in my living room, so I can't stay
God.
too long. It's gonna be a shorter one tonight, guys. We're sorry.
Well, it's
That's
not going to
alright,
be
there's
just
not
tonight
much news.
because
What are these
is
people
there?
in your living room for, and why do you have to leave so urgently?
The
What
news
don't
this
know.
week is
I
that
need
there
to
was going to
ask
be
him.
news and there wasn't.
the hour-long episode
so-
is here to stay, so deal with it, people.
Our broadcasting time is now 1
When the
hour and
DLC
10
starts coming out,
seconds
you know they're not going to be an hour long.
Well, that's if
We
they
talk a
ever
big
come
game.
out.
Well,
talk a big
Spring 2016, am I right?
Look, we have like 8 different shows now. We can afford to make the Netherkast one an hour.
All right. Close things out. 4 names. All of
We're
us. Who do you
diversifying
think they
our
are?
portfolio.
That's a good one.
Okay.
4 names.
Who
no
wants to go
explanation.
first?
4 names. All right. I'm gonna start this up. I'm gonna
Well,
say.
before you do that, I want to say, is this who we think it is or who we
Yeah,
want?
is it?
It's
Are
who
we
we think.
guessing the
Who do we
silhouettes or are
think?
we saying who we
Who do we
want?
We all know who we want at this
Yeah.
point. We all pretty much are in the same boat of the 4 we prefer.
Let me
So,
get the picture out.
now it's just down to who you actually think it's going to be. I mean, that's all that really matters, right? We don't get what we want.
All right, I got the silhouette. You go first, Shadaloo.
All righty.
Do you want to go one by one, or you want to do all 4 at once?
1 by 1. Do this 1 by 1.
Okay.
Trying to find that.
So who do you
fucking-
think the first one will be on the left?
Trying to find that fucking image right now. I actually can't find it in a Google search.
I got it on
Combat
the
Pack 2.
brain.
Combat Pack 2. Who the hell?
Burned in my retinas.
All right. So okay, Bo Raicho, Fujin, Sindel, Baraka. That's what I'm expecting.
That was right to left?
That was right to left.
That's odd. Why would you choose that direction?
Yeah, like most people
Not
go.
the shoes. Because I'm not wired like the rest of you.
Okay,
Well, I
so
thought we were doing one by one. I was all.
Treat it like
yeah,
a bottle.
I thought we were gonna do one by one, but clearly that was. I think he was
But no,
mistaken.
no. Because if we do one by one, we're all going to start talking about what that character looks like.
That is true.
That's why I
That
just
is
said
very
4
good
names.
point.
1, 2, 3,
That's
4.
a
Bang,
good
bang,
point. That's a good point. Okay, so left to right, that would be Baraka, Sindel, Fujin, Bo Raicho. Okay, Razor.
I'm gonna say Fujin, either Frost or Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Cyrax, Bo Raicho.
All right. I'm gonna say on the left, Smoke. After that, Frost. After that, Cyrax. And because of the neck width and just the shoulders in general and the cape, I know the sleeve looks like Bo Raicho. I'm gonna say Rain.
You're a good man, and I wish I had your face.
Braids that would change the shape of his head is the thing for me.
I'll go.
Yeah.
No, my 4 would be, I think it's left Fujin, then Frost, who I'd prefer over Sindel, but I think it's between those two. But I'm gonna go Frost, then Cyrax, then Bo Raicho.
Yeah, you know what? I wasn't remembering the silhouette clearly. I'm gonna swap out my Fujin guess with probably Cyrax or Sector, a cyber ninja.
His head is shaped like
He's angular.
movie Annihilation. It's got that squareness to it.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on that. Those are the actual silhouettes. I think Temp and I, when we originally did the
edited them to fool us.
I don't know if they've edited them. I think they just
before.
I think they just used placeholder ones that they're probably a hint towards the character, but I think they're placeholders.
That's actually entirely possible. They could have just grabbed 4 random character shapes, and those aren't even the dudes.
I mean,
I feel like they
that
actually...
one on the far right, I think is can't be anybody but Ro Raicho, because you can clearly see rolled up sleeves on his biceps, and nobody else has that.
I still think the size is wrong. I think the shape and size are still off. That looks like Rain's collar almost verbatim.
Ro Raicho has a collar too, is the thing.
It's not the same color. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm ready to be wrong, but it doesn't look like the same color to me.
The Cyrax picture to me looks exactly like Annihilation, so that's
it's yellow too. That's why I changed my vote. I thought it was Fujin. Then when I saw how yellow it was, I was like, that probably is Cyrax.
It's probably that's what I'm saying though. It's probably just an image taken from Annihilation. That's why I think they are placeholder images, but I think they're just there to represent what characters they're likely going to be.
Can't discount that fact that they teased Freddy, and Freddy's silhouette apparently didn't even have a hat.
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's true.
That's
why the second one is so weird to me. I mean, first of all, the top of its head kind of blends into the background, so it almost makes it look real tall and long. That's why some people think it could be Sindel's hair or a xenomorph's head. But if you look really close, there's this short curly hair at the bottom of where the ear is, or that kind of shape. And I'm trying to think, well, who has short hair like that? And the only thing I can think of is maybe it's the bottom of Frost's hair, or because the rest of the body is so sort of smooth, like a person in a jumpsuit. That's why I'm sort of leaning towards Michael Myers or some shit like that.
Even though I preferred Lee May,
it's not spiky straight up like Frost's hair would be. So that's what's weird to me.
Even though I'd prefer Lee May or Serena, because I know that's the ones you guys are pulling for more, but I would like Frost over a Sindel or someone else that we've seen.
I would not be mad about Frost. I would easily take Frost over.
At least somebody from Deadly Alliance that hasn't come back yet. So
yeah, I'd be happy about Frost as well. That is earned at this point.
But all right, on that note, if you didn't listen to the last episode, the closed Facebook group, you can always go and sign up for that, and I'll approve you. I don't like to mention it on the actual main Facebook post because I only want the people that actually listen to sign up for that. Follow us on Twitter and all that jazz, and like this and help us out. And on that note, that'll do it. So we will see you soon, and on Friday. I already have it scheduled for release. It's already uploaded, but I just have it timed for, I think, around 5 p.m. Central. The second version of The Lost, where they finish up the comic series, will go up. So we'll see you guys then. Adios.
I get straight up drunk and make fart noises. Stay tuned.
That's actually true.
Later, guys.